Hey guys, Keith Keller, Melbourne, Australia. Podcasting for beginners has been so exciting that we're doing part 2. So we just finished part 1, which was a bit of a masterclass with some buddies of mine. But now we're taking it up a notch. We're doing podcasting for beginners. And we're talking to a very good mate of mine who's just been in the recording studio all day doing this. So we're actually going to talk about 4 major things. One is, how do you record your podcast? How do you edit your podcast? How do you upload your podcast? And how do you promote it? Now, this is going to be a masterclass and something you'll be wanting to come back to over time. If you do have any questions, you can put those in the chat. And if you do want to know what's going on with the show, where is Keith today? We'll give you all the goss on what's coming up and how you can contact us. But Manny, jump in. I know you're busy. Tell us how you record your shows. Tell me about your show and what your podcasting history is to set the tone, just in case there's like 3 people in the world who haven't heard of you. What are you doing? Tell us how you're doing it, and how do you get that initial recording?
Brilliant. These are all great questions, and actually pretty loaded questions. We could literally be on here for 3 hours, but obviously we're not going to be. But cutting to the chase, I have a top 100 podcast called The VIP Voice. Now, my podcast is essentially about, empowering people, helping people identify their voice, helping them tell better stories. So I have a culmination of different artists from different sectors, sharing their insights, their stories, and how I record my podcast. Since my brand is all about video and audio, I have to take it serious. You and I are cut from the same cloth. If I hear a podcast that sounds awful, for the first 3 seconds, I won't even bother listening to it. That's just me. So first and foremost, I have to make sure that the audio quality is great. You got to get yourself a decent microphone. I would definitely recommend a dynamic microphone as opposed to a condenser microphone, because you don't have to worry about having a seriously treated room. So that's first and foremost. If you want to use a camera, obviously I like using 35 millimeter cameras, and my cameras are Lumix for capturing audio. So with respect to my platform that I use, it's always been Riverside. I absolutely love that platform.
Tell me about Riverside. I hear a lot of people talking about this. Riverside.fm. What do you love about it?
No, Riverside is fantastic. It is the only platform that's my go-to. Built-in AI. Obviously, you get the professional plan. It's not cheap, okay? But you get what you pay for, because you could actually brand your content. The AI actually creates notes of the actual show itself. So it kind of does everything for you. It could actually create small snippets so you could distribute it on all social media platforms, which is absolutely brilliant. Show notes, as I just alluded to, and you have the capacity, if you're recording or utilizing a 4K camera, you record the show in 4K. It's always going to be recorded in higher quality than what you see at the time when you're recording. And the results are fantastic. So if you're using high-grade gear, you're going to have a really sexy looking visual, and you have the capacity to record it in RAW, and you could download each individual video and audio file in RAW. So if you're somebody like me, this is kind of answering in a segue into your other question with respect to how do I edit it. I take my audio and then I take it into Logic Pro, which is a professional audio editing application where, you use your DAW, digital audio workstation, and I go in there, add all my plugins, beautify the sound. So there's definitely more flexibility when you're utilizing, a more refined application. And Riverside, for me, has always been my go-to tool.
Let's pick up on that. So Riverside FM is for those who don't know, it's like a sort of a variation on Zoom, but much, much, much better.
Better. Yes, much better. Zoom is very clumsy. It's always been clumsy. You would think after so many years, they would upgrade all of their audio quality. They would upgrade their plugins. And, I literally, in my circles, I deal with a lot of Grammy winning engineers, very, very learned individuals. And when I tell you, I had to go through so much red tape in order for me to do performances, live performances where I would actually, need my sound, my effects, my verb, my chorus to do live performances. Couldn't do it because their protocols are so clumsy. But anyway, that's another story. That's neither here or there. But the way I record my podcast, you
Oh,
have
this
the
is good.
but
Riverside is not that much more expensive than Zoom, but it's about 10 times better. I can tell you that for sure.
yeah,
And we've got it here from Manny as well. You
yes,
mentioned Logic Pro, which is an Apple product.
yes,
So that's I've heard of this one too. It's very good. Not cheap,
yeah.
certainly not free, but it's bloody good, isn't it?
It really is, and it's a pro application. You could use other applications out there like, Pro Tools, which is their competition. I don't like to use the word competition. At the end of the day, they're all the same. Whether you use PC or Apple or Logic Pro or Pro Tools, it's not the application, it's the person using it. You could leverage any application to do what it wants, or do what you want in this case. But I firmly recommend that when you're doing a podcast, because I tell people there's a difference. Anyone can start a podcast, but if you want to have a great podcast, there's certain guidelines that you have to adhere to. And for me, in order for me to interview the people, the caliber of people to respect and listen to me like I take it seriously, then audio and video are very, very crucial to my podcast.
Let's pick up on this. I'm going to come back to this really fundamental question.
Sure.
There's a concept in podcasting circles called pod guesting. I don't know if you've heard this phrase, but
Yes.
you can run your own podcast, but you've
Yeah.
got to do it. You've got to, buy the tech. You've got to do the editing.
Yes.
But there's this new paradigm now where people are saying, well, why don't I just go on other people's shows? So
Yes.
much easier, right? But
Yeah.
I want to ask you this question specifically because I often, in my mind, think of you when I talk about this.
Yeah.
My gut feeling is if you have a terrible sounding microphone or you're noisy or the kids playing or you're in traffic or the television's on,
Right.
you might be polite enough to let that interview go, but you're not getting the second one, are you?
No, absolutely not. And you know what? I don't even let it get that far. If I really lay the ground rules with all of my guests prior to that, like these are the mandates. Can you do this? If not, unfortunately, I can't have them on the show. You really have to be stern about that. And if they get offended or if they get butt hurt, then they're not meant to be on your show in the first place because you should have no shame in setting these parameters because it is your brand, right? If anything, they should respect the fact that you want to make sure you edify them in the best possible audio and light. You know what I mean? So with that, it doesn't bother me. I lay the groundwork and usually never gets that far. If you can't provide the protocol that I'm asking for, then I can't have you on as a guest. First of all, you have to be in alignment with the show, but go ahead.
You've got to set a tone.
Yeah.
And look, the reason I say this is because I'm a little bit more flexible than this, and I sort of play in the public domain. And look, I've had people calling in on the show with the television on.
Yeah. And
I'm thinking, man, in what world is it okay for a guest to come in on the show with the television on in the background?
Exactly my point. So, you do the recon first. That's why I have a team of people that I usually say, listen, I need to find a guest that is in complete alignment with my message and my theme of the show first and foremost. And then obviously at that point, because I'm dealing with higher calibers, more celebrity, more renowned individuals that have made a mark. In other words, not to be pretentious, you have to do something great to be on my show because then it doesn't make any sense. I've had Super Bowl champions, I've had CEOs, I've had best-selling authors. So it has to fall within the confines of, what's the word that you just used that I absolutely loved that you
the tone
It's
Yeah.
got to be relevant, and it's got to be synonymous. Every episode needs to feed into the message of the show, which is
Well,
empowering.
Stephen Bartlett, for instance, he just won an award. I don't know if you saw that. Didn't he win an award? Stephen Bartlett has these fantastic
Yeah,
shows. He
yes,
uses Shure SM7Bs.
yeah, yeah. They're great. I'm using one right now.
He uses the tech because he knows it's important.
Yes, it is.
And
Yeah,
when I have these conversations with people who want to come on the show and they just call in on their phone at
yeah,
the bus stop, I'm
yeah.
thinking, maybe you're not serious. Maybe you're not really thinking about what's going on here. How can I position you as an expert if they're announcing the next bus to Chattanooga
That's
in the
exactly.
background? How can I take you seriously?
You can't. And they should know that. And that's when most people that engage in these top grade podcasts already know there's a mandate, there's a protocol. You got to sound good. You at least have headphones with a built-in microphone to isolate the sound. Plug it into your phone, get in a quiet spot. Like, you should know these things ahead of time. And this is actually just, I'm trying to educate the audience that come in here as well. You should know, if you want to be taken seriously, then you have to respect the show, and you have to come equipped with respect to at least having people think that you know what you're doing. Because if you can't hear yourself, you can't see yourself. If there's too many distracting noises in the background, that's just a recipe for disaster.
But this is really important. You probably don't deal at this level, but I'm sort of a little bit more sort of in the trenches.
Mm,
And I've heard people say, "Mate, I didn't hear that." Well, I
yeah,
can hear it. I
yeah,
can hear that the
yeah,
television's on and the chickens are going,
absolutely.
and the kids are
No,
screaming and your wife's on the phone and there's people making noises in the street. I don't care if you can't hear it. I can hear it,
yeah,
and it's my show, right?
yeah. It's kind of disrespectful, and I call BS with respect to people like, well, I didn't know. Well, of course you don't. If you want people to take you seriously, then you have to take yourself seriously. And these are the things that you have to know, especially if you're promoting your own brand. You want to be on podcasts. This is the one thing that I usually incentivize people. You want people to respect you. You want people to understand, to know your brand. You want to get out there and become an authority. Then you want to be on podcasts. That's the best way to connect with larger audiences on a more intimate level. People begin to trust you. That builds integrity. But if you don't sound good, if you could barely hear what you're saying, you're cutting in and out, then I won't even bother listening to you. I really won't.
No, it's too much competition.
Yeah, way
So
too much.
this is very, very, very powerful. This is a stronger tone than we've said in the first fun
Yeah,
one. So we've talked about recording your podcast, the mic to
yeah,
use, and also the tech.
yeah,
That leads into editing, which is a big story in itself. Let's pick up a bit of that. You actually use Riverside, which has built-in editing tools, which must
yeah.
save you a buck at a time.
It does. But here's the funny thing. It does a great job, but for me, I'm very nitpicky, and most people aren't. I like clean cuts, and I use Final Cut Pro. So it's like, if you're not into the tech side of things, I would definitely not encourage you to do it the way that my team and myself do, because that's pro grade stuff. I edit it, I export the footage, I chop it up, we color tone it, we actually create segments, perfect cuts. We do crossfades, add filters. So sure, there's a lot more work, but the end results are that much prettier, right? And people take you seriously. And like you said, in the sea of competition, you really, really have to bring your A game. I'm sorry, but that's the standard. You want people to respect you. You got to play with the big boys, and you really
Yeah.
need to get your gear in check. You need to have quality sounding gear. You need to have good guests that understand the parameters of what it takes to have a great, engaging conversation.
Oh, love
If
this.
you're doing a video podcast where you're uploading to YouTube, for the love of God, get some lighting. And if you don't have lighting, artificial lighting, know how to manipulate ambient light. Figure out, you got to do the work. You got to figure out the perfect room. Get some bouncing. You have to do the work. It's all in the reps. Like I said, and I'll go back to this every single time I talk to somebody about a podcast. Anyone could start a podcast, but not everybody could have a great podcast.
Yeah. And in the world where podcasting is a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of things. Podcasting, there's called Podcast Connect, where you could get featured on top podcasts. That's one. But then you could actually, there's another one that says, I think there's two versions of Podcast, if I'm not mistaken. There's Podcast and there's Podcast Connect. There's Pod Match, where you match your hosts and guests. There are a slew of applications out there. I personally don't use any of those. I rely on the content, and I rely on really nitpicking my audience. In terms of what they want to hear. And I'm very selective with the guests that I choose. Obviously they have to have a reputable following, because then when you're exporting these videos and showcasing them on other platforms like Instagram and TikTok, you want to collaborate with these people. That's where the engagement lies.
We are so far away. We are so far away that I think someone's cut the cable. But sorry, that might have a little bit of a technical glitch, but
that's okay. That's okay.
The concept of live streaming is warts and all we're here, and that's why it's so important to have some tech.
Yes.
What I really wanted to pick up on this idea of podcasting and podcasting, but you might not have heard this trend, but there's a trend towards user generated content, and I really want to pick up on what you're doing there. Do people that come on your show also promote it, or do they leave it to you? And what's your opinion about that?
I think this is my opinion, and there are a lot of other podcasters that would certainly agree. I create my own peripherals. And here's the thing. When I create peripherals, I make sure I ask them, again, this is all, when they sign up and they agree to do the show, all the prerequisites are in my Calendly link. What you need, what we recommend. Is there a specific headshot that we could use that you personally like? Would you like us to choose? That's one, right? With respect to their brand colors, when I create my peripherals, I like to create materials for them that adhere to their color code system. See, so it goes really, really deep. It depends on how bad do you want your podcast to look professional. And it's definitely more work, but at the end of the day, you get a lot more ROIs on your efforts. So you cater to their brand as well. And then when you're posting it and you collaborate, you have the option of posting and actually ask for collaborators. Then you're sharing the one post with both audiences. So now you're both gaining the views. You follow me? I just did a collaborative post with a company, LC Sign, out of China. My posts have got almost 300,000 views. And it's simply because we're collaborating posts. I do something, I create a post, I highlight and edify what they're doing, right? Then I have them as a guest, and it's a beautiful relationship, and people love to see that. You're documenting a story, and that's why it's so important. That's why you should leverage a podcast. It's one of the best ways to expand your brand and build authority in whatever it is that you're talking about. But again, the back end of it is, you need to know your tech. I recommend everybody understand at least a little bit of tech, a camera, one microphone, one computer, one piece of software to edit. You got to have at least one of each. I'm not saying you need a slew of microphones. You don't need to treat your rooms. You don't need to go in there and get the best 35 millimeter 4K camera with the CMOS sensor, none of that stuff. But get the best that your money can buy to at least deliver a good quality podcast, because it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I think you're right. I think a lot of people just treat it like a conversation with friends, and they don't realize the importance of what they're saying, and more importantly, how they're sounding. Do they?
Well, there's two schools of thought. There's a school of thought where it doesn't matter. Just start now. Just start recording. That's great. It's not that I'm not condoning that, but don't expect the results of a professional podcast if you want to be well respected, well received, if you want to be seen as an authority, or do you want to be seen as somebody who's like, oh, it's cool. Manny's got a little hobby here. I love it. It's great. He's got conversations going on. Get some people, they tell stories. He posted here and there. Or you got to tune into Manny's podcast. He's got, he's got Keith, right? And I don't know if you know who this Keith guy is, but he does a lot of testing on the latest and greatest technology. It's a great, great episode. You know, it looks great. They sound great. There's just a different vibe to the show. Like you said, again, there's a different tone when you tune into a show like that. You just want to listen. You want people to lean in on every word, not be like, what the hell did he just say?
Yeah. I think it's about authority, isn't it? Like, I mean,
Sure.
if you think about the idea of why you would have a podcast,
Yeah, absolutely.
or why you would be a guest on a podcast, is that you want
Yeah.
to be seen as an authority. It's not something to do because there's nothing on TV and you
Right.
just have a chat to your friends because there's absolutely nothing else to do.
Right.
And
Well, you want to
I'll listen to those.
communicate.
You want to be an authority, yeah? You want to come across as knowing your craft.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
Now,
go
yeah.
ahead.
One of the things I'm really interested in, I get this one a lot. We've talked about editing.
Right.
How do you upload your podcast for maximum like reach? Where do you put it, and what site do you use for that?
Well, usually you get a solid hosting platform. And if you go to my personal site, I tell everybody, if you want to start a podcast, because I do these little masterclass and I have affiliate links for both Riverside and Buzzsprout. Those are my two babies. You know, I know them very well. I know the personnel. We've talked. I've shared some feedback with them. And Buzzsprout, you can get the link on my website as well if you go to my podcast section. And that's where I upload everything. I upload my notes. I upload all of my chapter artwork. I upload, the season information. I upload the raw audio file. The beautiful thing about Buzzsprout, it's a one-place shopping mall. It does everything for you. All you do is hit, publish, what day, and it does everything. It filters it out to Spotify. It filters it out to all your streaming platforms. It could be, Heart, Spotify, iTunes, you name it. So it's all under one roof, and again, it also has built-in AI, right? So it'll create some notes for you. You can create chapter markers, keywords. It's just a brilliant platform. It truly is. And I'm very into seamless interaction. I don't want learning curves. I have enough stuff that I've learned. I just want to go in there, upload my stuff, and boom, one click. I've got that Apple mentality since I've worked for them all my life.
Yeah. I think ease of use is a product. I mean, convenience is a product.
100%, 100%. Because you don't want.
Yeah.
No.
I'll always pay for convenience. I mean, I'm lazy. I want it now. I've got an idea. We're creatives, right? We don't want to be mucking around learning how to do something so we can get this melody in our head. Because I used to write music. I know. I'm with you.
You get it.
You don't want to have to learn to play the flute to get the song that's in your head out. You want to
here's a thing I want to share with you as well. I am a gearhead, and just like you, I love the tech side. But when I'm creating, when I want to get to the point and filters this out to my community, I don't want to waste time with learning curves. I really don't. I want to upload. I want to click play. I want to type in my notes. Boom, out into the world. Move on to the next episode.
This is brilliant. Now, the big one that I get asked almost every single day is, great, Keith, you've got this podcast. It sounds great. You got these cool guests. How do we get people to listen to it? How do we get people to know about it? How do we promote it? So how do you promote your podcast? This is a big one.
Yeah, definitely. There's multiple facets to it. First of all, your email list. I make sure I put out my proper email list. I put out, create some marketing literature. Hey, I got a brand new episode coming up Tuesday for all your subscribers predominantly. Leverage all your social media platforms. You really got to leverage every single one. And here's the thing. For example, you don't post the same material and content that you would on TikTok on LinkedIn. You follow what I'm saying? Where LinkedIn is a little bit more business oriented. At least I think so. To be honest with you, they're getting
used to be, didn't it? It certainly used to be enough.
It really very debatable. They're getting really, really. I don't even want to digress, but you know where I'm going with this. You can read between. Your content has to match the platform that you're uploading it to. Okay. You have to upload every single video natively. Do not use links to upload. For example, if you're uploading a video to Facebook, don't put a link to YouTube. Just take the video, upload it natively, right? Make sure that the link of your podcast is not in the actual description part. Put it in the comments, because Facebook and all these platforms will penalize you for that. That's the way around it. Upload natively, put the link to the show in the comments. Because once you put it in the description, right, it'll just, it's negative points is what I'm saying. You don't want to do that.
Let's take that. Let's take that a step back.
Yeah.
Just to think, this is very important. Most people think, oh, well, I'll just send this 916 video to TikTok and I'll use the exact same video on Instagram. Right.
Yeah.
And all of the sites that like 916. But you got to remember, Instagram wants you to be on Instagram. They don't want to play a replay of a TikTok video.
Nope.
And they won't give you any kudos for that, will they?
No, they really don't. That's why get the video. When you're done with the video in Riverside, that's why I love Riverside. You could actually export a video that's in 1080p, or you could export the video in the 916 format. You could brand it. You could have spacing, your brand colors. You could put your logo on there. So there are no excuses. And you could export multiple clips. Okay. So I upload reels. I will upload artwork on my stories with the link to my reel. Okay, I will go live. Hey guys, don't forget the brand new episode is coming out this Tuesday where I'm interviewing Keith Keller. Go check it out. There's a new story. There's a new reel in my bio. You have to be active, you really, really do. And unfortunately, being in the music world, that's why many artists don't get to that level of success, because they don't do the necessary behind the scenes work. They think uploading a song, done, I don't have to do anything. Absolutely not. You have to work 100 times harder after you post it to keep that trend kicking, to keep the algorithm in your favor. You follow me?
That's very, very, very good. And look, and you and I know this because we're doing it. And, on the outside, no one knows how fast we're pedaling under the water, do they?
Oh, 100%. All they see is that peaceful duck that's just coasting, but underneath, my God, it's like an Evinrude motor going. That's a great analogy. It really is.
Oh, we are working our guts out, but we're not telling you.
No, you never let them see you sweat. I let them know, because if I don't say that it's hard work, I'd be doing a disservice to people that really want to start a podcast. You have to let them know what it takes. And those that want to do the work will succeed. Those that don't will just have an average podcast. And that's okay as well. But you can't come to me and be like, Manny, I want a great podcast. I want to do a podcast where I gain the authority. I want people to find the integrity in what I say. Great. That's fantastic. I love the heart. I love the passion. So pull up a chair, because we're going to be here for a few hours. And after you're done with one of my little master classes, don't want to have a podcast, then you're made for it.
I love it. So how do what's your is it mannycabo.com? Is that how we do it?
MannyCabo.com. That's my main website. You can hit the podcast link up on top. It'll take you right to the page. You could become a sponsor of the show. All of my individual episodes are there. There's affiliate links where you click on. It'll take you there. You'll get discounts with my brand name on there. Everything's on there. All testimonials of people that I have on there. There's an episode for everybody. Tomorrow I'm uploading episode number 77 with Roberto Sanchez. He was in Too Fast, Too Furious. Huge, huge actor. So I like to keep it diversified, Yeah,
I love it. Man, I'm so into this. I'm just so into this. And you've really set the tone, and that's the right word we're saying. I have furious, and talking about Fast and Furious, I have fast and furious arguments about sound with people. It's not good enough to turn up at the shopping mall on your phone with people screaming in the background and expect to do a podcast of note. Right. It's not good
people that are serious about podcasts won't do that. You see what I'm saying? So that's been my journeys. People that I invite to the show, they know what it takes. They would never, ever call me from unless of course there's an emergency, their Uber got trapped or, whatever the case may be, but it's always, they're ready to rock. I give them more than ample notice. All the notes are in my invite when they get it. Please follow these guidelines. If you cannot follow these guidelines, we cannot have you on as a guest. I don't care how much you know. This is my show. I dictate the rules. And I know it seems very, I don't want to seem like a dictator on my show, but at the end of the day, I'm edifying you. It's not for me. It's for my audience, and
Yeah.
it's to make sure you are best represented in the best light possible. So
Let me
help me
let me pick
help
up
you.
on that. This is very important.
Yeah.
If as a guest,
Yeah.
we and a host,
Yep.
the most important part of this equation is the audience.
100%.
That we are doing this for the audience. If they
Yeah.
can't hear you, if it's noisy, if there's chickens in the background or a plane taking off, it's not fair to them, is it?
No, you're putting on a show. A podcast is a show. You have to take it seriously because at the end of the day, it's the substance, right? That's within the show. And if there are any type of distractions, if you're in the car, if there's ongoing noises in the background, that's for me, that's an automatic deterrent. I'll just shut it off. I really, really will. I get very easily distracted. If I'm going to listen to your show, I'm taking time away from my day, right? And investing it in the information that you are about to provide. If I can't hear you, if I can't hear what you're enunciating, yeah, you're done. I won't listen to you ever again. That's just, it's very binary for me, Keith. It's very binary. There's no shades of gray. Either it's a great sounding podcast or it's something that I won't listen to. So, and I think we lost Keith. So here I am doing a solo show. And again, this is an easy representation of you never let them see you sweat. The show must continue. And we've got Keith back. I was holding down the fort for you. Never let them see you sweat.
One of the things that happens with an early adopter mindset is that we sometimes have to push buttons we've never pushed before.
You don't say.
And this show, which is on Restream,
Right.
is a brand new format that we're pioneering. So sorry about some of the technical challenges. But look, mate, I'm going to let you go because I know you're busy. You've been recording all day. Give us a bit of a sort of a synopsis about what's coming up and how can we contact you. I'll put your name there.
Sure, absolutely.
MannyCabo.com. There's a podcast. There's a whole heap of links. What can people expect coming up?
Let's see. As of right now, I'm really focusing on a lot of the entertainment industry, a lot of actors, a lot of speakers, things that actually resonate with me personally. And I'll tell you why. I could identify with it, and I want to work with people that utilize their voice, not only to help themselves build their brand and to tell the stories, as an effective communications coach, presenter, vocalist. These are things that are very, very important to me. So getting guests that talk about their journeys and how they uplift and how they create their own brand in whatever industry that they're in is very, very important to me, and there's going to be so many different types of guests on there. I'm really, really excited because I've got some conversations already. I don't want to give away too much information. Just know it's an eclectic group of people.
But look, what I love about what you've said there is that you use your voice to sing.
Yeah.
But imagine if you could use your voice to heal or to create peaceful resolutions. That's a different use of voice, isn't it? It's a different use of our skill.
Yeah, and that's what I love doing. Like I get commissioned to do a lot of presentations on just that. As a singer, I realized even when I was back on The Voice, it was never about singing. Of course I could sing or else I wouldn't be accepted on the show, but it gave me purpose. And my purpose, which I realized over the years, is to use my voice to empower, to entertain, to inspire. And that's what I chose. And that's why this is my happy place now. That's why my podcast is so important. That's why my presentations are so important. That's why guests on my show need to be in alignment with my message, or else people are like, well, why does he have this person on his show that has nothing to do with the show's content? You follow me? So there's got to be a level of congruence,
I totally get it. And this is very important because what's happened today, which is quite cool with what's happened. Manny was recording. He didn't get the memo.
No.
And so we ran a bit of a fun and funky light sort of fun thing for part one. And we just basically danced around the tech. But part two, heavy going. If you really want a great podcast, you really have to pull this apart. This does create a replay now on LinkedIn and YouTube. this is glorious. Now I know you're busy, so I'm going to let you go.
No,
We've
and
been
that was,
chatting.
you know what, the scary thing, those are just little tidbits. Like I said, we could be here for 3-4 hours talking tech, talking proper protocols, talking levels. There's a lot of work involved, which I find to be fun, unfortunately, but it could be very intimidating. And sometimes it's very redundant, even for myself. But it's work that has to be done, because when you listen to my episodes, when you listen to my podcast, it just sounds legit. People want to listen to the next episode. You follow me? And that's what you want at the end of the day. I'm sorry. I will argue with everyone. I get a lot of slack for this. I don't really care, but it's my brand. Audio quality, video quality is at its apex, and doesn't have to be the way for you. That's the beauty about life. The differences. That's what makes the world go around. But if it has to do with me, you could always expect it's going to look and sound perfect. That's
where you play. That's where you
exactly.
play.
Exactly. And then, you know what? In my circles and dealing with professionals all day long, Grammy, Emmy winning technicians and engineers, that's what they expect from me. Again, we were just talking about becoming an authority, people, having integrity. If they don't trust you, they won't listen to you. You follow me? So it's all part of the branding scheme of things.
Yeah, I totally get this. I totally get it.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you are very welcome. I do 3 shows a week. I'm so into this, but I think this is possibly my best one ever, because we got really down and dirty, didn't we?
Yeah, we got to do this again, man. I love these intense conversations. It makes for a very, very engaging session, because you're going to get a lot of different opinions, and that's all great. I'm just very heavy handed with the way I run my podcast, and very happy with it, because evidenced by, the accomplishments and being a top 100 and getting the caliber of people on my show, it speaks volumes. Not even the content anymore. It's just the people that I get on there talking about and upholding my message of the show. Yeah. That's when you're doing something right,
Oh, that is brilliant. All right, mate. Well, you go and do your thing. I just play a little bit of a 15-second theme song to finish the show, and it'll be listed. The replay will be on LinkedIn and YouTube immediately afterwards. So
much fun, man.
So much. We'll talk to you next time.
Definitely, we definitely have to do this again, man. This is way too short. There's so much more that we can talk about. It's always a pleasure hanging with you, brother. Thank you so much, man.
No worries.
Be well.